Welcome everybody to Prenatal Yoga with Selena. So if you want to make sure that you have some sort of bolster or pillow handy, even a rolled up blanket such as this will help, but just to help fill space in case you need it throughout class. You might not. And then we're going to start in our nice tall seat. So whatever that looks like for you, you can bring your feet into bound angle, especially if belly's more bountiful. This might feel more comfortable. You can draw your feet in, come into Sukhasana, cross-legged. So find that sweet spot for you, encouraging your pelvis to roll forward. So you're sitting high up on your sits bones and then making sure the ears are stacked over the hips and stacked over the shoulders, and then the shoulders are stacked over the hips, okay? Shining up through the top of the head. You can bring your hands to your knees. Just rest them softly in your lap or on baby. And gently close your eyes. All right, let's start to tap into the breath, encouraging a big swell moving in through your belly, expanding sideways through your rib cage. And then finding that release on the exhale. If that means you're finding an out breath, an open mouth exhale, that can sometimes help encourage a little extra release. So tapping in to how you're feeling mentally, emotionally, physically right now. And start to target the areas in your body that might need a little extra release. Inhale, send your breath to that area. Find opening and freedom there. And then exhale. Find that release, that softening or melting sensation. So keep exploring through your physical body, noticing where these trigger spots lie for you. Where do you hold stress? Where do you cling to tension? For many of us, it's in our shoulders and traps. Perhaps it's somewhere in the face, in the jaw. Are you a jaw clencher? A lot of us also hold tension in our vaginas. So can you take your exploration there, making sure that area through the vagina and the pelvic floor are soft and open. 3 more big nourishing cycles to wherever you need it in your body. Focusing on inhale to open and then exhale to release. Last cycle. Wonderful. Good. Steadying your breath, and then when you're ready, open your eyes. All right, let's start by extending the legs out long in front of us, bringing the heels out a little wider than your mat. You can give the little legs a shake out, maybe a little beat out in the muscles in the hips and the bum to help wake them up if they need it. All right, then set yourself here, remove the flesh out of the way of your sits bones, again sitting high up, rooting them equally down into the floor. Flex your toes, draw them towards your ears, and sit up nice and tall. Inhale, raise your arms up overhead like you're reaching up towards the sky. And then exhale, start to fall towards the right and circle around. As you come back up through center, kind of like you're holding that big beach ball, come right through neutral, making sure you're not resting back and activating your 6-pack there. Cycling around from side to side, making sure that you're equally rooting your sits bones down into the earth as you move around. So you don't have to come super deep. You're just moving to a space and a place, or as I like to say, a splace that feels good for you right now. Because what feels good for you right now feels good for baby. Last cycle around. And let's take it in the opposite direction. Good. Moving around, mindfully making sure that you're equalizing pressure in your sits bones, making sure that it feels good, going slow. sweep around. Good. And then coming back up through center, release down. All right, tucking the right foot in now. Take that left foot and draw it on top of the right knee. So we're gonna come into fire log legs. So right away you're gonna start to feel it's really juicy in the hips, yeah? We warm them up a little bit by rotating in our Sufi grinds, but they might not be fully warm and you might be like, oh, this is a little bit tight for me. Well, know that that's normal. Hips are very tight for most. And so you don't have to settle that top knee down, the left knee down on top of the ankle. It might never meet there. That's okay, it doesn't for me. What we're doing is we're just encouraging with a little bit of pelvic rocking. We're encouraging that top knee to rest down towards the bottom foot. Fire log legs. One more breath. Finding that opening, asking the area of the hip to release and open, let go. Good. All right, let's swivel around. You can rest back into your hands and we're gonna swap legs now. So taking the right leg on top, making sure that the feet are really flexed and charged, and start to sway, tilting forward, allowing that right knee to drop as much as possible towards the bottom ankle. Yeah. Good. One more cycle of breath. Oh, juicy, juicy, juicy. Yes. All right. Lean back into the hands, take the feet wide, and do a big windshield wiper. So this is really nice to do after a deep hip opener. All right, getting that mobility and fluidity back in there. Okay, take the feet around, sweep them behind you, and we're gonna come into tabletop. So if your wrists are giving you trouble at all throughout this cycle, feel free to come up onto fists, come down onto forearms even, or you can find a prop or a pillow and put it underneath to bring your forearms to and give you a little bit more height. Otherwise, root all 10 fingers firmly into the floor. This will create a little pocket, a little arch of support at the base of your wrist, taking some of the pressure off of your wrists. Start to put a swivel, a sway into your hips from side to side. Perhaps you want to settle back, rippling around and forward. This is kind of like a cat-cow, or your variation of. Cat-cows don't always have to just be a forward-back movement. Finding a little side body stretch here. Inviting whatever feels good for you. Remember, my cues are suggestions. Always do you. So from the moment you found out you were pregnant, there may have been a lot of emotions swirling: excitement, joy, happiness, and potentially fear. Know that it is very normal to have fear swirling around you from the early days all the way up until your birth and beyond. And so what we want to do is not block fear. We want to face it. We want to process it, manage it. All right, coming back in through center. We're gonna take the right foot around in front and see if you can bring the heel in line with the wrists. And if it's not in line, that's okay. You just put that foot down wherever it feels good for you. It's a wide leg lunge, so leaving space for baby here as you start to ripple forward and back. So as you ripple back, you can settle the sit bones back, maybe even bow your head into modified splits. Feels really good too. So again, you're encouraging that movement that feels good for you right now. So fear, if it's not dealt with and processed and managed, it can actually manifest itself physically in the body. Yeah, so as I said, we tend to hold a lot of tension in our vaginas. They kind of sit in a semi-contracted state all day. And so when fear is present, it can put that area of the pelvic floor into a fully contracted state. And when you're birthing, well, you can imagine in your pelvic floor, baby's passing through that area. You don't want it to be contracted and tight. You want it to be open and free. Yeah. So fear can manifest and show it up physically in the body. All right, put the weight into your hands and sweep that foot around and behind. Opposite side, swivel the left foot around in front. And find your sweet stretch, your sweet flow. You can pause if you want to stop. Something feels good too. So another way that fear can manifest itself physically in the body is by shortening your psoas muscle. So your psoas muscle is the one muscle that connects your lower and upper half. It weaves in through the hip, connects to your core. And when it's shortened and tightened, it actually creates less space in your pelvic bowl. So again, baby's moving down deep in through your pelvic bowl during birth. As each contraction, as each rush pushes baby down, descends. And so you want that area of your bowl here to be as big, encouraging as much space and abundance as possible. So with a tight or shortened psoas, by not processing fear, you can create less space in there. So it's really important to think about your fears. Know that they are normal, natural. Manage them so that you can carve space out for more helpful thoughts, we could say. Okay, good. Putting the weight into your hands. Sweep that foot back and around, and we're gonna walk ourselves up and up and up into kneeling. Okay. Make sure your knees are comfortable here. I don't ever want those joints to become so uncomfortable that you're kind of grinning and bearing through the shape. So if you need to double up your mat, you can, or pull in your blanket is really great too, and tuck it under your knees. Good. Okay, take your hands to your lower back now, fingers towards the floor. Squeeze your shoulder blades to your spine. Find a heart lift. So we're not doing a camel pose, we're not doing a back bend. We're just finding a heart lift, drawing your elbows towards one another, showing you from the side. Make sure that wherever you're at, whatever shape you've taken, you can still take a breath. Because if you can't, then that's an indication you're too deep. And again, each week will change. You've heard me say this lots if you've been attending my classes. Each week will change so much as baby starts to grow, especially in the second and third trimesters. So each week you will be checking in. How does this feel now? May have been super deep last time, but not this week. And then celebrating that because you're growing life. Beautiful. Come back up through center. Take your hands to your hips, and we're gonna bring the right knee out in front and just stack it so the knee is stacked right over top of the ankle. And so you can see I've kind of shimmied my right foot out to the right, and this gives a little bit more width, a little bit more foundation here so I don't feel like I'm gonna fall over. So make sure you're comfortable. Guide your right elbow down your leg, and then inhale, sweep your left arm up. Exhale, find a side stretch. See if you can melt your shoulders down away from your ears. Keep your fingers overhead nice and bright. Encouraging that side body opening. Baby sitting up really high, encouraging a little bit more space for them to move around in. I love side body stretching. It feels so good. You know, your ribs really expand as baby starts to grow and your organs start to get pushed up under your ribs. Good. Slowly come back up. Take your hands to your hips. And then take that knee slowly back into place. Take your time. I'm going to do the opposite side. So left knee comes out. Heel toe it out to the left so it's in a comfortable position. Stack the knee right over top of the heel, and then you can guide your left elbow out. Inhale, sweep. Exhale, side stretch. So imagine lifting your armpit up and out of your hip area. You might notice your rib cage starting to expand depending on where you are in your pregnancy, needing to get that bigger bra size to compensate. Good. One more breath. Slowly release up and bringing hands to your hips. All right, we're gonna squat our way to stand now. So curl your toes under. Plant your hands. This is not a fitness squat to rise. I want you to take 5 to 8 seconds to ragdoll up. So when you're ready, put the weight into your hands. Bum comes up first. Let your head hang. Let your arms hang. Knees are soft.
as you rise up to stand. Are you already standing? Okay, you've gone too fast. Slow it down, there's no rush. The traction and opening in between your vertebrae by allowing that slow ragdoll up is really beneficial, okay? So let's practice squatting some more, because as you know, I love squatting in preparation for birth. So coming into the middle of your mat, take your heels a little wider than your hips, and then if you want to, plie your toes out. And if you've been doing this with me for a while and you want to explore feet parallel to one another, take your feet there now, and you'll feel how this encourages the space in which baby will come out in between your sits bones here and your pubic bone. The opening in which baby will arrive actually encourages a little bit more space through there when your feet are parallel versus plied out. Okay, so you can just explore, making sure whatever position you're in feels good for you, feel like you're stable and you won't fall. If you're over 35 weeks and you know baby is breech at this point, then just a half squat for you. We'll do that version first, because when you come into a deep squat, it actually opens up the pelvis, and at that stage at 35 weeks, we don't want to invite baby down just yet, because they can still move and get into that more optimal position for birth. All right, arms by your sides to start. Inhale, sweep them up overhead, and then exhale, shoot your bum back behind you, start to come down, half squat, fingers to the inside of your knees, ragdoll up. So remember, our head is heavy, arms are heavy. Slowly rise up. Showing you from the side view. Let's do that one more time. Inhale to rise. Exhale. Sitting back like you're sitting into that chair. Tuck your tail, ragdoll up. If you want to come a little deeper, inhale up, maybe coming all the way to the floor. Feels good? Yeah, you can explore that. And then from here, hands to the floor, and bum comes up first. Stacking vertebrae upon vertebrae, take 5 to 8 seconds to rise. And just keep flowing. So this is a flow. So you're moving with your breath, not necessarily in sync with me. You're moving with your rate and rhythm of breath. So if you're feeling like that old heartburn, indigestion, nausea start to fire up when you drop your head below your heart, then just stick with the half squats. Dropping your head below your heart can aggravate some of those symptoms. So just making sure that if you're feeling any of that, just sticking with the half squats and keep your head up high. Yeah, good. So words can have an effect on these feelings of fear. And most of the mamas that I've talked to, their biggest fear is the pain of childbirth pain. And so I like to refer to it, change that wording, to something more of sensation, okay? Very challenging sensation, yes, but when we change the connotation, the meaning of a word changes as well, right? So pain versus sensation. Pain has more of a negative meaning and connotation. It kind of indicates more of like suffering. And so we don't want that during birth. Birth doesn't have to be about suffering. So changing words, even like contraction, to something like rush or wave can kind of have a better, more positive meaning. Changing the words labor to your birth has a more positive. So thinking about that as well. Good, let's do one more cycle. How can you translate your words with whatever fear it is that you have? Translate words so that they're a little bit more empowering and encouraging versus evoking more fear. Awesome. All right, coming up to the top of your mat, give those hips a little shake out and find your mountain pose. So mountain pose is really, really important. You know I talk about this a lot, showing you from the side. I want you to stack your ears over your shoulders over your hips over your heels, and then all 4 corners of your feet equal rooting into those, okay? Blossom your bum, palms come forward, helping to open up the heart, widen your collarbones. Close your eyes, take 3 big breaths.
Good. And when you're ready, we're going to come into a chair pose. So as you inhale, bring your arms up overhead, blossom your bum, and sit back like you're sitting into a chair. Lift up your heart as you do this. It will activate your core, giving you length through your spine. That's good, that's what we want. But then sometimes we put the weight into the heels. So redistribute, equalize the weight in all four corners of your feet. Okay, keep raising your hands up high, high, high. Settle your shoulder blades down your back. And breathe. You'll feel that fire right away. With all these fine cues that I'm giving you, you'll feel that fire right away, but this is good. So don't see it as pain. Don't see it as suffering. See this fire as fuel to help get you through those really hairy, challenging parts of your birth. Use some tools like big out breaths to help encourage those muscles to keep going. I'm finding movement as well. You see my little micro movements? That's one of my tools as well to help keep me going. Good. One more big, strong breath. Wonderful. And then on your inhale, rise up. Exhale, bring it down. Roll those shoulders out. Okay, take a stroll to the back of your mat now. Genie squat your way down, always squatting, using both sides of your body to get down and up off of the mat. Okay, so we're gonna prepare for our Shavasana, whatever that looks like for you. If you wanna come down into recline, laying down on your mat, or prop yourself up on a wall or couch or bed behind you, you can do that. You can even stay seated if that's comfortable. Just come to a place where you can be comfortable for the next few minutes. I'm gonna stay seated. Getting as comfortable and relaxed as you can. Feeling heavy in your physical body. Settling any tension away. And closing your eyes. Bringing your focus back inward. So, fear is a big factor, a big emotion that comes up during pregnancy, birth, and well into the beyond. Fear is always there. We can't stop it or block it. But what we can do is manage it. So we can first start by recognizing or acknowledging what the fear actually is. So that might mean sitting with it for some period of time. Really, truly recognizing and seeing it, not being afraid of it. Next is accepting the fear. And this is probably the hardest step. Accepting that this fear lies within you. Knowing that it is normal, natural to feel this. And lastly, exploring or investigating that fear with curiosity. Knowing that it is not necessarily reality, because you don't know the future. But sometimes imprints of the past affect how we relate and see our present and future. So explore this fear, investigate it. And once you can completely see that fear for what it is, let it go. Let it go, creating space, carving out a little bit of clarity, a little bit of opening in front of you to help fill that space with more helpful thoughts of courage, bravery, joy, happiness, peace. to deepen your breath, awakening your body just enough to find slight movement in your fingers and toes. And if you're on your back, slowly rolling onto your side, and from there ragdoll your way up into a tall seat, taking your time, trying to keep your eyes closed, helping to encourage that inward focus. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. The light in me honors and bows to the light in you and the little light inside of you. Namaste.